Last year, Madam Glam came out with some new chrome art gel paints, and I loved the silver that they had already. So I thought I'd pick those up and do a little swatching on these glass tiles, as well as their nude rubber base gels. I figured would be interesting to compare them to my Esvy rubber base gels and see what kinds of differences there might be and what they're like. So I've got my swatch sticks and let's get it started. Got my little glass tile here on a nail tip stand, and I've opened this up. It does look like it is going to require some mixing. This is the rose chrome, and you can see that looks incredibly silver. So let's see what happens. And there's the rose gold. Oh wow, there's definitely all kinds of color in there, giving it a really good mix. Hopefully it'll come out all one color. And I've got my Crystal Nails Zero Long brush. And all I'm going to do here is split my cube down the middle on a diagonal. I'm going to go solid on one side, and I'm going to do hopefully thin stripes on the other, just so I can get an idea of what it will look like either way I'm using it. And I'm not sure if I leave this to sit for a minute, if the color balances out and gets that chrome look to it. We'll have to wait and see what it does. But right now you can see the lines running through from the brush strokes because it's got a different color. My straight lines aren't the greatest, but I'll do a little more practice with this. So there you can see the effect of the line work is pretty cool, pretty nice. The solid section there, it is very, very streaky. Okay, and before curing, I'm just going to set this aside and see if that streaky coloring like chromes out in the solid section there to a single color. Not sure if it'll happen or not, but we'll wait it out and see. Next up, got the vintage chrome. I'll stir that one up. So right now it looks like an actual chrome. I mean a silver chrome. But do you see, oh, look at that gold coloring in there. And it is pretty typical for chrome gels to need mixing. So I will mix this for a while, make sure it's really well done, and then we'll swatch our square. We'll do the same thing on our glass tile for this one. Typically, chrome gels are never really meant to do a full coverage nail, but there are times when you may, say, want to do some color blocking with them or something in small sections. So by doing this style of swatch, it shows me what a color block section or a thicker section will look like, should I think that I want to do that. And then, of course, you see what the striping, which is typically what chromes are used for, highlights or outlining or your French lines or stripes or that sort of thing. Yeah, some designs like those striations might look really cool, but if you're going for a full chrome covered effect, that might not be ideal. Now, if I'm doing straight lines or attempt to do straight lines on art, I would usually roll my brush out onto a palette first so that you don't get that thin and thick as you're working. But since I'm just doing swatch looks, then I'm not that worried about. That's the vintage chrome and the gold chrome. This has been thoroughly mixed. It's a very old, bronzy kind of gold as opposed to a more vibrant, yellowy kind of gold. It's been quite a few minutes since doing this rose chrome, and you can see that it hasn't smoothed out on the solid section, so it would have done it by now if it was going to. I'm just going to pop this in the lamp to cure then. And the same goes for that vintage gold. You can still see the striation marks on it there. So these are called Peru, Ecuador, and Brazil. They are a rubber base, so they are going to be a little thicker than a typical polish. But they should hopefully have that smooth quality that makes rubber-based gels ideal for doing French or anything where you want a more natural nail look for the nail bed. And yes, that does have that nice milky, syrupy quality. There is a bit of patchiness, but that's kind of to be expected. With most polishes, I'm going in on my swatches with 2 full coats so I can see the coverage. In this case, because I do sometimes want it just to be that very translucent coloring, so I'm only going to go halfway up the nail with the second coat so that I will know what kind of coverage there is with a single and a double coat. It's one of the reasons that I really enjoy using such long stiletto swatch sticks, because you can put a lot more onto each stick to see what it's going to look like. Whether that's a black tip to go underneath certain colors, or in this kind of case. And last we have Ecuador. Ooh, this is a pretty, like, purpley, pinky purple. This is them all swatched. The idea will be to take these little glass tiles and stick them onto my art paints, my gel paints, so that I will know what the colors are actually going to look like when I go to use them. They are identical to what's showing on the sample here, but it's always nice to see the actual polish in action. And then the base gels. Here's the swatches. They are quite nice, lovely colors. As always, I've done my matte coat and my glossy, and these ones I did a single coat and then just the tip with a double coat, just so I can see what kind of coverage there is. And I do have to say that with the single coat coverage, it is very, very, very patchy. The second coat does clear up a lot of that, but there's still a bit of patchiness, and they get quite opaque with that second coat. They're not still extremely translucent. So unlike the Esvy, which I really liked, for example, here's a somewhat similar color. These ones with the second coat did clear up the patchiness, but they're still very translucent. You can still really kind of see through them for most of them. There was a couple that were that had more of an opaque look. But like this, for example, still very translucent through it, very syrup look, and yet the patchiness is gone with that second coat. So if I was forced to pick which brand I would be using for my rubber bases, I do think I'd have to stick with the Esvy. They're a lot more expensive for me than the Madam Glam. Just being a VIP means that you get them for half price, and they're much cheaper to purchase than the Esvy. I think with the Madam Glam that I could see myself getting a little more frustrated trying to get that nice consistent coverage that just seemed to be a little bit easier to achieve with the Esvy. They leveled out a lot better and gave you more consistent coverage with a little more translucent look, which is what you really like for that nail base. So Madam Glams were okay, but not as ideal as the Esvy in my books. The second layer coverage starts getting too solid and opaque, and a single coat is just way too streaky and patchy. Still, it's nice to have these colors to add to my collection, and they will help flush out some of my nude rubber base gel colors. So I am appreciative of that. I did pay for these myself, but still. And I really like these chrome gel paints. They will be very helpful for doing detail work and such on nail art designs. So hopefully y'all enjoyed that quick swatching of these items that I wanted to get put away on my shelf. And I appreciate y'all being here. Don't forget, check down below in the description for any affiliate codes if you ever see something that you're interested in picking up. It'll certainly go a long way to help support my channel so that I can keep getting products and trying them out for you. As always, until next time, guys, don't forget to love your nails. Bye!